I'm going to interview a very interesting person for about 10 minutes, Malcolm Pein. He has done so many important things for chess that I could spend all that time just talking about his curriculum. Just currently, he is vice president of the European Chess Federation, or European Chess Union, better say. He is a chess organizer, an important one. For instance, the very famous London Chess Classic Festival was done by him for many years. And he has a daily chess column for the Daily Telegraph, among other things. So we welcome Malcolm Pein to this Educational Chess Summit 2022. Malcolm, thank you very much for coming. Feel very welcome. Please sit down. So, first of all, I think you should introduce your organization, your charity organization, Chess and Communities. But specifically, besides of that, I have a very concrete question, which is probably very interesting for our listeners. How do you get the money? I mean, how do you convince people, companies, bodies, whoever, about investing on a chess charity organization?
Right, so before we come to the concrete question then, Chess in Schools and Communities is a charity. That's a fundamental point. It's a non-profit, as you say in the USA. It's something that's not out there to make money. It's something that's out there to collect money and spend money to achieve its objectives. How do you get people to give you money? Well, yeah, that's a good question. And I have to say that I spent, I think, 25 years as a chess entrepreneur, running businesses, selling chess base, having a chess shop, all that kind of thing. And it was amazing that when I formed this charity, I found people's attitudes to me changed completely. So instead of talking to people about commercial things, suddenly it was more, well, I'm doing this as a charity. And people's attitude to you changes when you're talking to them about a charity. That's the first thing. And you have to gain that common ground with them, that they clearly understand that what you're doing is not something that you're trying to do to profit yourself, but something you're trying to do to help the wider community. And that's a good point to start. The second thing is you need proof of concept. So what I did initially was try and raise a small amount of money, just a small amount of money, and then start teaching chess in schools as a curriculum subject, by the way. That's one of the things that Chess in Schools and Communities does. That's its main activity, teaching chess in the classroom. And I should say that's distinct from what they do in Armenia, which was, I took the Armenian idea of teaching it in the classroom, not necessarily as a chess club.
I will ask you about that later.
But you know, no, sure. But this is the point that I had to start small. So from the point of view of getting money, I found a few head teachers who were prepared to do this. And it only needed, I'd say, about £15,000 originally just to get chess embedded in a few classrooms in London and in Liverpool. And once you have proof of concept, then, and you've got feedback and you've got anecdotal evidence from teachers and head teachers, oh, I'd love to do this again next year, then you can go to your funders. So the first thing I think is proof of concept. The second thing is, this is for the community, this is not for me. And then the third thing actually is targeting. I mean, you have to look around and you have to try and find people who are interested in chess. And that means getting all the data that you can, finding all the chess players who are in different companies, and just sending out, you know, emails, letters, conversations. It's very much about networking and finding people who'll at least start the conversation. That's really the point. Because, I mean, to give you an example, when I started Chess in Schools and Communities, I managed to get the URL chessinschools.co.uk. I mean, that means that it was a completely green field. There was nobody doing it. So going after the money is really a matter of forming the proposition, actually. That's really what I would say. You have to form the proposition, and you have to be able to answer very simple questions, such as, how much do you want? It's a very, I mean, I should say this didn't happen to me when I was in the charity, but it happened to me in business once. I went into a meeting and somebody said, how much money do you want? And I didn't know the answer. It felt so stupid. So you have to, how much do you want? Who will it benefit? That's the second question. Thirdly, what will, if you like, the unit cost be? I mean, this was very important for me, was I managed to, by using the charitable status and the charitable structure, to drive the unit cost per child down very effectively, very effectively. So you have to create the proposition, make it very, very good value for money, and then you have to mine all the available data and contacts that you have, and these can be friends, companies, other charitable funds, government, private companies, all sorts of things. I mean, I have this huge database back in the charity office that is just literally a list of, it's not a great, potential, possibly the most polite word you could think of, but I suppose it's the right answer. Targets. You know, I regard all these people on my list as potential targets, potential people I can ask for money. And so once you've got the value proposition and you've tested it and you've proved that it works, that's when you go out and try and raise the big money.
Now, talking about chess in education specifically, you have done something really very difficult, and I know what I'm talking about. I mean, as we explained before, in Georgia or in Armenia, they have chess in the curriculum, but not as a transversal or interdisciplinary tool, with its own hour in the curriculum program.
Yes.
And you are somehow following that method, I suppose adapting it to the UK, but in the United Kingdom, chess is not that popular.
No.
So this is really difficult to achieve. How you are doing that?
Well, I think one of the things that helped me originally was that for the UK, it was, as you say, completely radical. Like, what? Chess? You know, in a classroom? And I was helped by the fact that it was working in Armenia, and that there was even a documentary, actually, there's a lovely documentary on the BBC called Armenia, the Cleverest Nation on Earth, which was quite nice, that I used. But the thing is that I managed to convince just a few head teachers. And head teachers in Britain regularly gather in forums locally to talk about things. And so once we'd taught for a year in, I think originally it started with 12 schools, then those 12 started talking to all the people in their local areas. Then I started going to local government education departments and presenting. Then it was conferences, and it just spread by word of mouth. But what we had to do was not use the Armenian method. So we created a curriculum, a couple of great people in the chess world, one who's very well known to you, John Foley, who's on the European Chess Union Commission, and another, if you like, pioneer of chess in schools, Richard James. They created a curriculum, a 30-week curriculum that has lesson plans, objectives, worksheets, things that you can give to any primary school teacher and say, this is what you do. And in some cases, we had primary school teachers taking this, but most of the time, actually, we were able to send in our own tutors into the schools to do it, and the class teacher was helping. And the other barrier I had to overcome then, of course, was, oh, people will never pay for that. People will never pay for that. And this is a fundamental part of the answer to your first question. You have to value chess. Chess is worth having. Chess is so worth having, it's worth paying for. And there was absolute shock, I'd say, in the English chess community generally, when actually, after the second year, I started charging for it. Not very much. But in fact, what I did was I pitched it in this way to the head teachers, or we actually have now in Britain business managers, because schools were given autonomy by the Labour government from the early 2000s. So head teachers have their own budgets, and they all have business managers. But you go to the head teacher and you say, it's going to cost you this much, except there's a 50% discount because we're a charity and we're raising funds. So we're giving you everything at half price. So that actually is the last component of how to raise money, is marketing. And we've never found any resistance from schools to paying the amounts of money that we charge. there's never been a school that said, well, occasionally over the years, but we've been in 1,200 schools. It's not money usually that makes the school stop having chess in the classroom. Mm-hmm. It's usually because there's a new head teacher who doesn't quite get it. Mm-hmm. So that's, and last year we took in nearly £400,000 from schools.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Now, I know that you are also working successfully in another very interesting field, which is prisons. Yes, in a very synoptic way. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Chess in prison is such a positive intervention because it gives prisoners, first of all, something to take away the terrible boredom that they experience in prison. I mean, that is one of the reasons, of course, that contributes to violence in prison and to depression in prisoners and to general misbehavior in prison is boredom. And let me give you an anecdotal example of how this really came through to me. So the first thing is to explain that in slang, in English slang, the word bird means prison time. So I'm doing bird means I'm in prison. And I was doing a simultaneous in a prison and I was playing against a guy and he looked at me and he said, "Mr. Pein," he said. I said, "Yes, John?" He said, "Mr. Pein." He said, "This chess." I said, "Yes, John?" He said, "It's a bird killer, Mr. Pein. It's a bird killer." And what he meant was, it takes up so much of my time that I forget where I am. And in fact, when I was planning the prisons program, I did go to some psychologists, and one of them said to me, anything that can make them forget where they are for any period of time is a great thing. So not only is it teaching all the good things we know that chess does, the cognitive skills and making them more employable.
Thinking about the consequences of...
Exactly, and just actions have consequences. And that is what we always promote when we're teaching chess. Although when we do chess in prisons, actually we don't always teach it, we let them just come along and play. If they want to learn, they learn. But if they don't, we just let them play.
So time goes faster when we play chess. And finally, I'm not sure if we have a video about your organization. Do we have a video to watch it now?
I hope we do. So the aim of Chess Fest is to show that chess is something for everyone, something for all the family, children as well as adults. But on Sunday, we're going to have an extravaganza at Trafalgar Square. We're taking over the square, and my thanks to the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, for giving it to me. I have to say it's quite a coup for the charity, and we'll have over 1,000 people in the square playing giant chess. We have 32 actors on a giant chessboard who'll be recreating the Immortal game. Now, the Immortal game was the greatest game of chess ever played back in 1851. It was played, in fact, we think, just down the road at Simpson's in the Strand. And the actors will be playing these moves on a giant board relayed to screens for people, and will also be playing a special game which we've created just especially for Chess Fest, which portrays the theme of Chess Fest, which is Alice Through the Looking Glass.
And it's a checkmate! Okay, Dom, you've got to move quickly. The rook goes in the middle. How do you think you're doing?
Not so well.
Hello, Woody Harrelson here in upstate New York. I'm filming White House Plumbers with Justin Theroux and England's own Lena Headley, who plays my wife. I'm not going to say anything more about that because I hate shameless promotion, but let me just say welcome to Chess Fest at Trafalgar Square. My first move is very unpredictable, E4.
It's an incredible spectacle, and we had 11,000 people came, which I think makes it the biggest chess event in Britain by a very long distance. And that's about getting chess into the community, because people came from all walks of life and all ages and had a fantastic time for the whole day. And it's something that I think can be replicated. So we ran it in Liverpool as well. We had an activity in Hull, and my ambition is to spread it all around the UK.
Well, taking the whole Trafalgar Square for the whole day is a fantastic way of communication. So,
Yes.
Malcolm, thanks a lot. It has been a real pleasure.
Thank you too.
And please keep so hyperactive as you are for many years already. Because
You're my role model.
Thank you very much, Malcolm.